Hey, I'm Chris Gilchrist. I get to serve as the executive pastor here at Stonebridge Church in the Woodlands. Welcome to Sunday Continued. This is where we keep the conversation going after Sunday, asking the questions we didn't get to, talking through what this actually looks like in real life, and figuring out how to live it out during the week. If you're new to Stonebridge or just exploring, we're so glad that you're here. Our heart is simple. It's to lead people to a real, healthy, and growing relationship with Jesus Christ. And if you're local to the Woodlands or Magnolia, we'd love to meet you sometime. We gather every Sunday at 9:30 and 11:05. Now let's dive in. It's a little bit of a different setting for us.
Yeah, following up of last Sunday's message out of Acts chapter 4, and talking about boldness, a different kind of boldness, a different kind of courage that the early church experienced.
Yep.
And
I mean, my biggest question to start, though, you told a story that I had never heard about before, which was how you asked Joni out for the first time.
yeah.
And so my question is, have you sold the movie rights to the inevitable rom-com that we could shoot about
and
it?
the good thing is I'm not in trouble for it because she hadn't heard it yet. So
She needs to hear it.
Yeah,
'cause
she
it
needs
made
to
me
hear
laugh. And it's a story I'd never heard about before.
it's true.
And
It was pretty good.
was just constantly thinking about what happened to that other guy, the one that you beat at flag football.
Yes.
And what happened to him?
He's a good friend and remained a good friend. And at one point he passed away.
Oh,
He really did.
Okay.
So he was a real good friend and well known, and just know his family and everything else too. So that
he has a happy
that
ending
would have made
then
it
too,
hard
yeah.
also. Yeah.
Okay.
But,
Well,
yeah.
one of the things I was even thinking about when you were talking in Acts 4 was I was really focused on the reasons why we don't have boldness. Like you had the 4 that you gave in the message, and the reasons why we're preventing our Christian faith to take us to that next step.
Yeah.
And like what prevents us from doing so.
Yeah, because I mentioned about either pain or pleasure.
Yeah.
So sometimes to be bold or to be courageous is going to cost you, and it's going to be difficult, and so we don't like pain.
No, we absolutely
and
not.
our tendency is to want to avoid anything that's painful conversation, painful relationships, painful situations. That's pretty human for us to do that. And so it can a lot of times take away. And, if you look in the early church, there was some pain involved in the things they
Absolutely,
said.
yeah.
They
No,
were
it's-
confrontational on it. So,
Well, and even you did those two, and then you added, which I think our society struggles with even maybe more so now, is comfort.
yeah.
And conformity, of just that inability for us to take that step just because I'm comfortable and my life is comfortable and
Right,
I've got this
right.
perfectly curated little bubble that I live in, and to upset the status quo is difficult and hard. I mean, I was even thinking about, we have men's retreat this weekend, and
That can be uncomfortable.
I'm even just dreading sleeping in a bed that is, still somewhat, I don't think you can even call it a bed, but just even something that I know is good for me and I know is something that I should do. I struggle with doing it because it's, I don't want to be uncomfortable.
Are you taking your kit of earplugs and
I'm
everything
bringing it
else?
all, Steve.
Okay,
I
that's
need to
good.
make sure that
eye patches and
I'm going to do anything I can, and I'm leaving just after the first night because I need to be back here.
Okay.
And so just the struggle of, but how many times have I not taken a step in my Christian faith just because I'm comfortable and just because, man, it's the awkward thing to do.
Yeah.
Interacting with this person.
I agree. I mean, I think just it's just human nature to want to orient toward situations, people, things that are comfortable. You're used to being there. Hey, coming into church can be that way.
Oh, it's super.
If you're not used to this place and these people, until you come in, I mean, there's some people that can immediately kind of adapt.
You're just
but for the
wired
most
a
part,
certain way. But
yeah. You want to see, do these people like me?
Oh, yeah.
Do these people like me? Those are all, and it's especially when we talk about the idea of the conformity, because cultures, just like in their day, 2,000 years ago, the Jewish culture in Jerusalem, there was a way you were supposed to speak, a way that the things you should do, should not do, things you shouldn't bring up. And this was one of those where to defy the religious leaders.
Oh, yeah.
And the political leaders, hey, we go through the same thing.
Oh, there's our social norms that we're supposed to conform to.
Right.
Just what Peter and John were struggling with, the Sanhedrin, and what am I supposed to do in response to them? We have our same struggles of just our unwritten rules of culture that I'm not supposed to cross because it's awkward or comfortable or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Now, I think the other side of it, because I know some people that they're just going to buck conformity, period.
Sure.
And there's
which can be bad.
Yeah, because, it's not just a matter of just trying to do something that they won't like or whatever. Sunday I brought up Alice Cooper. It was interesting listening to the documentary on him and seeing pictures of him when he was in school and the other guys in the band and their early pictures as a band. You're like,
this is not,
these guys, I mean, they just look like some square, kids out of a private school doing a band.
Yeah.
And then now to see where he turned up because, they wanted to do something. It was the only way that he believed he could make a name was create a character almost out of it and be outrageous. And it does work. I mean, people are, they might not even like what you do, but they might still watch what you do for that.
The delicate balance for us of like, how weird should I be? There's, we can be weird at times. There's things that we do that are very just strange to the outside world. And I think we can struggle just internally of, is this too weird? Have I hit a point of being too weird in my faith? And how far can I really take it until society doesn't even listen to me? I mean, I was joking with you earlier, just one of my passions right now is trying to get to know my neighbors. My wife is much better about this than I am. But just even in like our society now, when I go and try to approach a neighbor, I think they think I'm like a sales guy trying to sell them solar, right? And they're just thinking that I'm this strange man. I'm like, no, I'm really just, we live 2 houses down from each other. I want to get to know you. I want to have some sense of boldness and courage to get outside of myself and meet my neighbor. But I'm looked at as even just strange for that. We're supposed to just park our cars in and never talk to each other anymore. I think
in my neighborhood, it's like that, except the garage door goes up. You come down the street, you drive in, and the garage door goes back down. And so you don't even see your neighbor or get out.
5 seconds of like, maybe I think I know what they look like at this point. And I just think that's one of the struggles that we have now, too, of what's the right sense of boldness? Like what are we supposed to do as Christians in a world that is so tech filled, in a world that I'm not having as many one-on-one interactions with? How are we supposed to represent what Peter and John are doing, in this passage? How far do I go and what is the right thing to say? I think there's a lot of just confusion in what it means to be a Christian in today's world.
Right. I think you're right. And sometimes, like you said, that can be overdone.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're too bold and you may be too aggressive. My wife will tell me, and it's because of what I do for a living, she will say, you can be intimidating sometimes. And it's because I can walk into sometimes in a situation and be a little aggressive only because, I'm used to doing that by what I do. And that may catch somebody off guard.
Yeah.
And they may be uncomfortable, with that, even though the other side of it is outside of church or my small group or other things. Sometimes I go to things and I don't say a word. And people are
sometimes we just get tired of talking. Yeah, I get
right.
that side of it. But even just like looking at their lives, right? There's this moment where they go in and sense, and you kept using the word boldness.
Yeah.
What are ways that you think, man, we get it wrong as Christians when it comes to boldness?
Yeah. I think that they spotted something. They saw the circumstances that were going on, and we saw this in chapter 3 also with the lame man, and they just saw this as a chance to do something, to say something, and they just took it. Peter was always more like that anyway. Actually, John probably was too. Yeah. I know we think of John as being meek and mild and whatever.
The favorite disciple.
Yeah, but that's not how he's described in the New Testament. They're called the sons of thunder. So they always came in.
Yeah, you don't describe a meek person as thunder. That's not the.
They're causing a lot of issues and stuff. But I think they just saw this as fitting everything they had seen, everything they'd gone through. Here is my opportunity to say why this relates to us and who we are, and especially being there in Jerusalem and being around, in this case, being around the Sadducees and the temple guards. And it was a little bit different group, I think, than they were when they were around the lame man and he was healed. And they just saw this as, again, an opportunity. Similar things they proclaimed.
Absolutely.
But to this group also, And even their view, I was looking back at the end of the 4th chapter, the part that we were looking at, and they may make this statement in there where they say, and they realize all of this happened because God had planned for it to happen. And I think that's exciting for them.
It brings me hope.
Yes.
Hearing that.
To think you're walking into a situation, you're doing something, saying something. It seems like you're trying to create it, but actually you realize, no, this is something that God had planned beforehand and set up. I'm not saying they didn't have to take an initiative. I'm not saying that. I think that they did.
They had to step out on their faith.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it fits too when you go back and you look at the passage with Peter in the 3rd chapter, where it says with the lame man, as he said, in the name of Jesus, rise up and walk. But it says, and then he reached down and he grabbed him by the right hand. And that had never jumped out to me before until we were studying. I'd heard it before, but
no, it's just something that comes alive maybe for the first time.
It seems odd, but in the narrative, it's very specific, and so it would be there for a reason.
Well, just the physical act of it, and then just knowing too for their traditions what that meant for them to engage a layman and the practices they maybe were ignoring with all of that, and just to address them in that way.
Right.
It's just
right.
But that physical moment of I'm actually reaching down is such a powerful.
Yeah. And going to pull you up off the ground, even though you can't walk.
And you're probably terrified right then because you're like, I'm about to fall back down in this moment.
What is this man doing?
Well, and even just looking at from Acts 3 to Acts 4, there's these 2 moments where Peter specifically is seeing opportunities and stepping out in faith with them.
Yeah.
And I think just thinking about the past 2 Sundays for me, it's made me think about what are the opportunities that I am either too distracted to see or too busy to see in my day in and day out. Peter had this moment where he saw it, right? And so it takes a moment of slowing down enough to actually see the world around me and see these opportunities around myself. And so I just think a lot about, for something I think we struggle as with Christians in today's world, is just, am I too distracted to see the opportunities that God's putting in my life?
Or like you said, too comfortable.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem with comfort is we get into our situations, we can predict them, and that's what makes them comfortable. So we just want to stay in that situation. And all of a sudden, if something changes, if something happens, sometimes, like you said, you just miss it.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're kind of locked in to what you're predicting it will be.
Well, we're talking about just how much people are on screen time nowadays.
Yeah.
The average we learned, so we looked up 7 hours, which is insane to think about.
Made me feel better.
Made me feel better too. And then Gen Z being 9 hours. You guys, boomers, you're only 4 hours. You guys are living your best life right now. And so,
well, in my small group, this came up in my small group, and they asked me. They said, "So," because I brought it up, and they said, "So how many hours are you on there?" Because I said it made me feel better about myself, and I'm thinking, and I told them, I said, I'm not sure I should answer that because
no, it feels like,
is this going to be weird? Am I going to be too much?
My pastor should only be on his phone for 20 minutes a day, and that's to call people.
That's almost right. Give or take 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah,
so, but and I look at it, as I've told you, I look at it as I do with a lot of things, as sort of a game.
Yeah.
So, oh man, this
week
I
try to beat it every week.
Can I go lower? Can I get it lower?
And then I get sick, and then I'm on it all day because I'm feeling.
And I have to use my phone just like you do. So
no, there's an element. If you heard my number, you would be like, Chris, you need to be on it a little bit more. That means you're not talking to enough people.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But just thinking about that, like of how even something as simple as that this moment that takes me out of the world, right? That I am on my device, I'm on technology. And in that moment, I'm missing the opportunities around me. I mean, you and I were talking about just even at the grocery store line, how easy it is to not interact with people anymore. And that used to just be normal. I would talk to people because it was either that or look at a magazine, which I didn't want to do. And nowadays, if I try to engage with people, there's like almost this fear that you can feel with it. This is strange. Like, why are you bothering me? Like, I'm like, I'm bored. I just want to talk to somebody. But I think that's one of the things that I know I struggle with, or I can struggle with, of what are the opportunities that I'm missing? What are the opportunities am I just not seeing? And how do I engage with a culture that seems more afraid to engage with me?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I think you're right. And I think, again, not wanting to create fear in somebody's life because you stepped in where you shouldn't have stepped in. I have a good friend who is, he's just equipped in any situation to walk in, and he can just jump in, and and he's just, you like him no matter what. So
that's how people feel about you most of the time.
well, sometimes, but because when I'm around him, I'll tend to be a little more like that.
Okay.
And people don't always respond to me as well as they do to him. So he can just kind of jump into any situation. He's the kind, one time they had a surprise birthday party for him at one of the Japanese restaurants where the guy's out there making your dinner
hibachi.
on the
There we go.
hibachi. And so he decided, he found out about it. So he went there and said, can you show me how to do this? And so when everybody came from the party, they're there ahead of time waiting on him. He comes in the back of the store and comes out pushing the cart that he's going to be the one that cooks. But, they're facing the other direction, and he's throwing shrimp and rice and whatever. So that's
a
the
level
way he is.
of boldness that I think most people don't have.
No, most people are not like that.
I'm not confident enough to go into a hibachi place and say, hey, can I start cooking? How much do I need to pay you to start doing this? But I do think for most people, we have our daily interactions with that. If we slow down enough, I think we'll see that there's more opportunities for boldness than I think on a surface level that we give ourselves credit for.
And to see the need. I mean, because that, if you think about the followers of Jesus there in the book of Acts, I mean, because of what happened to them, they saw the lame man, and it's bold to say, rise up and walk, because
I haven't done that in my day.
No. And then they're in this situation with these religious and political leaders, and for them to step up there and to be bold is risky in a different way.
Absolutely.
Because you can make some enemies. And
I mean, they end up in jail.
Yeah.
That's where it goes next.
And they
are
threatened in that situation.
No, you don't get put in jail just, for a good time. Like, that's not what was going on in their life.
And it's going to happen again to them. It was not the last time that it happened. And again, that kind of fights against the conformity thing.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be known as, hey, these are the guys, this is the church, they always end up in jail. That's not really what you want to be known for. But at the same time, for that reason, to be thrown in jail for that reason, they were good with it. And I don't know how many people would look at that as more of as a star, that you were thrown in jail for telling someone else about the gospel. Or as they said, so helping this man walk, we did what wrong? Why are we being condemned? But, and I think that's a different thing. And sometimes, especially in our culture, confrontation is what people are taught, or they believe they have to confront. And I think that's the part that's interesting, Chris, because where do you see with your generation and all, where is confrontation appropriate or better received than in other places? Do you have any?
I think, we tend to be more scared of confrontation in like my generation. And I think millennials and Gen Z, we shy away from it more. One, I just think that because we're always on technology, to where I think a lot of times our natural habit is, I'm going to text this person instead of talk to them with confrontation. And that we rely so much on technology to be the catalyst for how I have confrontation. Even when I'm thinking about boldness and all of that, I struggle with that certain people view boldness as posting something. And that's our judge of this was this bold act that I did. And there's times for that to be appropriate, but that's not what's going on in Acts. It's not them just saying something from afar. They're in the midst of it, and so
they know the reaction. They know everything about it when they do it. They're there to take whatever comes from it.
And I can believe, though, or fall into this trap of, if I post something about this, or I do it in this way, that was me taking this really bold step. And it can be. I'm not trying to say that it can't be, but I feel like we're missing it if that is my approach to boldness, that I'm willing to do it online, but in my day-to-day where I'm actually interacting with people, I shy away from it. And I think that's the danger of where we're going as a society a little bit of, I'm not comfortable with just having a conversation. And
in our culture, you're right. We don't do a good job of having conversations that may be confrontational to some extent and still remaining civil.
That's
less of that.
We're being trained more and more to throw out civility, and just say, well, you have a different viewpoint than me, therefore I must not like you.
Yeah.
When the truth is, when we sit down and we actually have conversations with people, our differences become smaller.
Yeah.
But
I'm interested too how you would view it from your generation when you look at what Peter and John said and the things that were done there. Also, did you feel the sense of, ooh, this is confrontational and this is going to turn out badly, or did you sense that this was a risk, but it was okay for them?
I think we're kind of in this moment right now in time where we're trying to figure out what is going to be our comfortability with confrontation.
Yeah.
And so, for me, just looking at it, I get excited about it because they have a certain set of hope that I think a lot of my generation and younger generations are looking for.
Yeah.
And there's a level of certainty that I think we would look at and go, I'm super attracted to the fact that they believe this so much, because we are a group that struggles with that we are really uncertain about a lot of things, and that we don't feel comfortable in our own skin, and we struggle with, how am I going to be perceived? And then you see these two guys speaking with such boldness and clarity about what they believe. I think that's attractional. Like, I think that would give me, it gives me hope of they believe something so much so that they're willing to be this bold about it.
Yeah.
And so I know for some people that would be uncomfortable to them, but I think there is a uprising in my generation of, man, I love that they have that type of hope and clarity, because that's the beauty of the gospel, right?
I've heard this, and I know you would say this also, that this generation is looking for, they're interested in whether or not it's authentic.
Yes.
But what I say, as being someone from a older generation, is that's always been the case.
Yeah.
Every generation, at least during my lifetime, has always asked, is this authentic? Now, in a different way and for different reasons.
Yeah.
But I think every generation, at the heart of it, when you kind of, get to the point of having to set some direction for your own life and what you're going to do, you want to know, but is this the real deal?
Real deal, yeah.
I don't want to live a phony life.
Well, I'm thinking about that, right? My generation was known as like the advertised to generation. Everything, everything boomed in my generation, of every toy and everything like that. And so I do think there is a hyper awareness of like inauthenticity, but back to, Acts of, there's nothing, that doesn't scream authenticity about Peter and John in that moment. They are 100% in,
right,
and unashamedly are who they are.
Right.
And I think that is one of the things in today's culture and in today's world, the more that we as Christians can be confident that we have a certain hope and we are who we are, I think will speak volumes to the world around us and the people around us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with you. And I think that's one of the things to me that made the Bible so attractive, was because it was authentic.
Yeah.
It wasn't made up. It wasn't, you didn't look at it and say, no, that couldn't happen. I mean, even though the miracles, we don't see those things happening. But I mean, I watch shows and I like, I'm a guy, so I like action. But when I see things that, that's just not realistic. He got shot 12 times and he's still
fine,
running and fighting, so it just seems so ridiculous, over the top. And when you read the Bible, the fact that these are real conversations, real things, it doesn't seem that someone has tried to color it or whitewash it in a way to make it palatable or acceptable, but it just told you what was going on and what was happening. And again, the fact that this is God, which they realized this was God doing things in their midst that they didn't plan on. They didn't make this happen.
Well, that's the beauty of Acts to me, is just a continuation of what Jesus was doing in the Gospels.
Yes.
It's through different people, but it's just a continuation of the narrative of Jesus, of this is how the church starts, and this is real people making real decisions. And I think one of the beautiful things about Scripture is that you see people's mistakes. Like there's never these moments where, we'll see even more in Acts with some mistakes that Peter makes. They're not trying to color these people as perfect. They're just trying to point to a God who is.
Yeah.
And I just think that to me is so attractional, knowing that the Bible was written, look to the Old Testament. It's mostly about failures. It's not really about a lot of great successes.
Right.
And I think that gives me hope that I can see real people like Peter, who started out making a lot of mistakes, and to be transformed by the gospel in a way that he can be that bold and that willing to share his faith.
Yeah. The final story I was thinking of with this was, you think about all the way back to the beginning of the Jewish people as a nation was Abraham and Sarah. And one of the bold things that Abram and Sarah do is God gives them a promise of a child. They're way too old for that. It takes 25 years for this child to be born. So now they're even older. So at some point they decide, I know how we can do this.
Oh yeah, take it into their own hands.
Yes, and they're being bold. They're being in
the wrong way.
You might say they're maybe being courageous, but they're also being foolish.
Yeah,
because this was a promise that God made to them, and rather than waiting, and I understand you got so many years. The longer we wait, the older we get, and
it was impossible at this time.
Yes, but what they didn't help it happen. It actually got in the way in some ways. And then God, as he does, he always comes through. You know, if you've been watching The House of David with Saul, that was, if you go into the text, that's actually Saul's biggest struggle with God is he's impatient.
Totally.
So he's not going to wait.
No, does the same thing. I'm going to take it into my own hands.
Supposed to be waiting for the prophet to come. He decides he's not going to show, or he's not on time. And actually, it says that he jumps in, he takes on the role of the prophet, which he's told not to do. And then it says, here's the time comes for the prophet to appear. And he does. He walks up and he says, what have you done?
Yeah.
So, oh man,
it's one of those delicate balances for us, because you can look at that and be like, well, I don't want to be foolish. Like, I don't want to do something that is not in God's will or whatever that we can start believing. And yet the beautiful thing about both of those stories to me is that God redeems them.
Yes.
And so I think that gives me an encouragement of, I think we can sometimes not want to be bold because we have this fear of, I'm going to mess up what God wants.
Right.
But I think scripture actually would tell us to look at it very differently, that I should be bold because look what God can do.
Yeah. And I always like the point, as I read the book and look at what they went through, I do think God is always clear.
Yes.
And I don't think that it's easy to miss. And I think for them, they were bold, but I don't think it was hard in their view for them to miss this opportunity because it was so obvious that it was there. They saw it. They saw what they could say. They even saw the confrontational part as a good thing.
Yeah.
That it might even rescue and bring about redemption to some of their own people, which is what the call was. For Jesus is saying, the Holy Spirit's going to lead you to be witnesses in Jerusalem, in Judea, in Samaria. It keeps expanding
to the ends of the earth,
and even to the ends of the earth. Yeah. So,
well, this was great. I'm glad that we took the time to talk. Hopefully, more in the future, we'll find ways to get people to send questions in and engage more with the podcast. But hope that this has been good for people's time. And
sounds great.
Decided to do it again.
Look forward to next time.
We'll be even better next time.
Okay, now even better. Thanks.